We've realized that a lot of people don't truly understand what all the markings on a rafter square are for. So we're going to spend a few videos in the next few weeks kind of explaining some of these. You're going to notice on good quality rafter squares that all the edges are laid out incrementally. These are imperial measurements, meaning inches, and they're broken down into half, quarter, and even 1/8 inch marks. And you'll see that there's a special signal at, say, the 3.5 and the 5.5 inch mark. That's to signify a typical common 2x4 width and a 2x6 width. On the long side of the square, the hypotenuse, you see all of these degree markings. This is literally a protractor edge. So using the pivot point, you can find the degree of any angle that you have, whether it's on an existing building or some drawing on a piece of lumber. A protractor edge. All right, this big window here houses two different measurements. One is for a common. This is for a common rafter cut. And the numbers here indicate the number that comes before the number 12. So in other words, this is a 4/12 pitch. That means a 4-inch rise and 12-inch run. This would be an 8/12 pitch and all the way up. Now, the degree of angle changes when you get to a hip or a valley, and those numbers and those degrees are represented in this part of the window. So if this side is a 4/12 common pitch, you would also go to the 4 when you get to the hip of that roof, and this gives you a 1/17 measurement. And when I'm laying out a wall, I'll use this window quite a bit. I'll lay out doors and windows with 1.5 inch and a 3-inch mark, and to make a quick reference so that I can scribe it across with the 90-degree angle of my square. And this particular rafter square, SmartSquare, has many features that you won't find anywhere else. Find us at SmartSquareTools.com. Okay, some of the basics on the markings of a square. I want to start here with the pivot point. It says pivot on both sides, and this part is where everything starts. So when you're drawing a line, your pivot point has to be flush to the material. You can scribe it across, or if you need to find a certain degree pitch, you can do that by swiveling it around the pivot point and making your mark. So this is a 22-degree angle right here. And if I want to go to a specific roof pitch, as we explained with the common, I can go to, in this case, a 6/12 pitch, hold it on the 6, draw my line, and the degree angle for a 6/12 is 27 degrees. Okay, continuing our little series on how to use a carpenter square, rafter square. I've drawn a crow's foot here where I want my doorway to start. So I'm going to put my speed square to it, draw my line, but before I move it, I'm going to utilize this window. I know that I need a stud at 1.5 inches and a trimmer right next to it. And then I can mark these without moving the square. Okay, let's say that you need to quickly notch a piece of plate around plumbing or something else that's sticking up out of the concrete. I've got my crow's foot marks right there. First thing I do is I would square those across, and then I know that I need to take it off the inside of my plate. Let me make up a measurement, 1 3/4 inch, sawtooth, and that's the piece that gets cut out. And as we know, carpenters are the smartest guys on the job site, so if you're starting out and you actually have a SmartSquare, you have this ability. You can do flat work. That means you can lay it completely flat on the material, and since every edge is already laid out, you can do highly accurate flat work. And these are things that can only be done with a SmartSquare. They can't be done with the old style that's been around for 100 years. And if you do purchase a SmartSquare, it comes with its own jig block. I'm using a contrasting color because it usually matches the square itself. But you can see that through these two grooves right here, the jig slots, you can choose either one, use the handy thumb screw, and then attach the jig to the back side. Now I've already got an angle drawn here that I want to replicate over and over and over again. So I set it to that angle, I crank it down, my jig is now set, and I could replicate that mark over and over and over. SmartSquareTools.com.